Hello, my name is Miriam Loescher and I'm from Slovakia.
And I'm Elizaveta Karpacheva from Russia. We both study Masters in Architecture in University of Applied Arts, Dian Kivante in Vienna, in Studio Hani Rashid.
When and how were you first introduced to architecture?
For me, I was introduced to architecture of my first day of bachelor studies because I didn't know anyone who studied architecture before. So it was all pretty new to me, but general interest in the space qualities and the city structure were always interested to me. So there was a lot of things to explore, and that's how I came to be an architecture student.
For me, actually, very similar. I also didn't know much about architecture until I came to the bachelor's, and it was quite a big shock for me to see what it actually is and what it consists of, and having to know it, getting to know it, and seeing what it strives for. I think it's a very beautiful and dynamic discipline, and it really gives one a lot of possibilities, and also this very artistic form of self-expression with actually doing something good for the people and trying to help the environment is a very nice thing to do.
So tell me, what is your design philosophy?
So as humans, we are on this planet and we are surrounded by other humans, by also objects, things, and also animals every single day in all the time. And these objects and environment has simply a huge impact on our everyday decisions. Some are conscious, some are, but the vast majority of the processes that are running through our brains is subconscious, and therefore our environment has a vast impact on how our everyday life is looking, even though if we may not really think of it as such. Therefore, we think that a lot of what is going on in our lives personally is very much depending on the overall setup.
Yeah, and continue to that, I would frame it as a human-centric design where we have to take into consideration the physical and mental well-being of a human with the physical needs as well as emotional needs because both of the effects directly influencing our state and emotions and happiness.
What does architecture mean to you?
For me, architecture can be many things. It could be buildings, cityscapes, material research, or theoretical work. But if we talk about the built environment, for me, architecture is the invisible link between all the living things like humans, flora and fauna, integrated into the natural world. And it's important to see how we interact with it and what it does to us as humans and our well-being.
For me, it's quite similar. The architecture is meaning simply everything what is man-made around us, and for me, the possibility to be an architect means having the tool in hands to make the lives of people a little bit better by every day, not only functionally but also aesthetically.
So briefly explain your design process and your perspective on the role of architecture in healing the human mind.
So talking about the design process, I think it's very unique and it's very bound to each particular project, and this one was very different from what we have done so far. I think as much as possible we were trying to take the scientific research and to back it up with the data, and then create a space that would directly translate this information in a way that the human brain, like as much as possible, every individual that would be exposed to this type of space would react in a way that we could think of as like the wished reaction. So this was a really hard thing to do because on one hand we have the scientific research, which is extremely objective, and then we have the architecture, which being artistic discipline is also subjective at times. And our goal was to separate this so that we can enclose ourselves out of the process, so that we can really claim it as a research project and having backed up the wished result when the individual is in that one particular space. The design process itself, we have taken the Platonic objects and tools because they were like backed up in the research, and the characteristics of them were well researched and described. And then we were tweaking them with many possible design strategies that we could think of, but as we needed this to be as controlled and precise as possible, we thought that it would be most easiest to do this manually, and each operation was therefore really manually conducted.
To summarize the overall project intention and the processes, we thought that the environment has a long-lasting effect on human physical and mental well-being. Therefore, it's important to notice what exactly affects us on the hormonal level and brain functions, define those parts, and learn how to trigger it in a positive way. And we think that by creating such environments, we can improve hormonal balance that would enforce less stressful hormones, more positive hormones, and overall human health in general. As we can see now, it's one of the most important topics in architecture.